Good evening, good evening, good evening. Listen, I am elated to be with you this evening. Can you believe it? This is our very first Pain in the Pews Mental Health and Ministry broadcast of 2022. Y'all, we made it. Oh my goodness. And I'm telling you, when I tell you this is a way to bring it in, this is the way to bring it in. So what I want you to do before we get started, I want to first, if this is your very first time being with us, I want to thank you for being a part of it. My name is Chelsea Payne. I am the founder of Pain and Glory Incorporated and the administrator of this particular initiative, Pain in the Pews Mental Health and Ministry, where it is our goal to bridge the gap between the faith and mental health communities, showing that you can indeed have faith and a therapist at the same time, that God is sovereign in both every areas. And so if this is your first time, I want you to go ahead and tag someone, share this with someone, tell someone that the Pain in the Pews Mental Health and Ministry broadcast is on now, because I promise you this. You want other people to hear what's going to take place. And if you've been with us before, you already know it's about to happen. You already know that we are about to have an amazing time. We're about to learn, we're about to grow, we're about to expand. And I cannot think of a better person to start off this 2022 Pain in the Pews moment than our special guest on this evening. Listen, I am giving you time to go ahead and share. I'm giving you time to tag someone. I'm giving you time to tell someone that we are on, because you won't want to miss not even a moment of what we are about to share on tonight. So as you're sharing, go ahead and let us know where you're viewing from and all that good stuff, because we want to know who is tuned in and locked in, and who is making this their home for the next few moments. Listen, I am excited. And if you already have seen the promos, you already know why. This is why. The topic on tonight, the topic on tonight is amazing. Excuse me. And one that is necessary, and the one that we're about to have. And my special guest on tonight, I promise you, if you're not already following this man of God, I'll give you his information later, but I want you to follow him on social media so that you can get just a bit of all the wonder that he shares, the nuggets of wisdom that he shares. But I am elated to introduce to you, to bring before you, my special guest for tonight, Bishop H. Eugene Bellinger. Thank you so much, Bishop, for being with me on tonight.
My joy, my excitement to be with you. Honor
Yes.
you and bless you for what you're doing, not just for our community and city and country, but for the body of Christ.
Thank you, Bishop. Thank you. That means a lot. Let me just give everyone just a little snippet of who Bishop Bellinger is. He is the establishmentarian of the Cathedral of the Covenant Church, of the Covenant Fellowship Ministries and Enterprises, a synergetic fellowship and consortium of bishops, pastors, ministry leaders, and businesses that provide development for the 21st century church, educational, and business community. He serves as the founder and senior pastor of let me try my new mouth, of the Cathedral of the Covenant Church. He is located there in Ohio, a long way from where we are right here in Georgia, and wherever you're viewing from. I know that a lot of our viewers are viewing from all over, but we're here in Atlanta and Bishop is there in Ohio. But listen, I am elated to have you here, sir. I'm like a little kid. I'm so excited. I'm so excited that you are here. So we're going to dive in. Excuse me. We're going to dive in because I have some questions, and my questions are on the minds of, I'm sure, many. My questions that we're going to be talking about, and those who are joining in, I invite you to pay close attention to what our guests will be sharing on tonight, because it is something that we need to hear. And so, as I'm getting them back up here, gotta love technology. Gotta love technology. Here we go. So, Bishop, one of the questions that we have here when we're talking about the misdiagnosis of mental health in the church and its effects sociologically, psychologically, and spiritually. When we talk about that, what are some of the effects that you see either now, here present, or in the past, that you feel may be currently causing the challenges in mental health in the church?
Well, I think that's a great question. And again, I'm thankful to you for allowing me to be, and welcome to your audience. One of the biggest problems that I have discovered or concerns is that the church misunderstanding of mental health, uh, psychological disorders, or mental health issues, or emotional disturbances, even the fact that somebody going through depression, that we always assume that it's demonic regulated, it's demons or
Right.
devils or somebody have sinned. And we approach it from some misnomer. Yeah, while I believe prayer works, I think prayer and relevance to proper medical help, proper sociological, psychological help works. And sometimes we approach these things thinking that we can cure people by laying on hands or casting out demons. And hear me, some things have nothing to do with demons. It has to do with some disorders or some malfunction in our body or brain activities. And because we have misunderstood it and applied some antiquated approaches, I think will cause more harm in the body of Christ. And, and, and because those things have been lingering over years in that individual that we try to heal, and cause it a demon, has caused further damage, not just in that person, but then it caused sociological dysfunction within the home of that person, and then psychological dysfunction within the whole community of where that person located, because now that person could have gotten help 5, 10 years ago, and now they've gotten worse in the community that they're in, the home, the school. Uh, Now have to adjust to something that we could have helped cure or perhaps help alleviate years ago. So the church is now or must now come into grips that everything has nothing to do with a demon, has nothing to do with a devil. It just has to do with some disorders in our bodies. And the fact of the matter, and this is the shocker, all of us, all of us have some mental health disorder, except for the grace of God, except for eating properly, except for us recognizing it and doing the exercise,
Yeah.
we would be in worse shape than we are in now. But because our bodies counteract certain enzymes and endorphins and those things that cause abnormality, our bodies just seem to push it away. And so all of us have some gene, just a matter of time before it explode. Thank God it have not exploded, some of us.
Yeah. You said a lot there, Bishop, especially when I've had the opportunity to meet with and share with, and even have on this broadcast before, people who have been misdiagnosed. They have been, prayed over and said that, things that were wrong with them, that wasn't the case. And in several of those instances, it caused them to leave the church, not leave God, but leave the church hurt. And I've spoke to several. We started this initiative in 2014. Pain and Glory has been around since 2005, but this particular initiative, Pain in the Pews, we started in 2014. And during that time, Bishop, some of the same things that you just said, I have encountered people who've experienced that. And I think that you bring up a very valid point, in recognizing, being able to recognize and not necessarily, diagnose, because that would be, the job of someone who has the degrees to do it, but at least be able to identify, as you said, not everything is a spirit, not everything is a demon. There are chemical imbalances, there are genetics at play. But I really love the fact of how you brought that into play. Another question we have is, what are some examples of the sociological impact? And then we'll go on into others. But what are some of the examples, if you could give us, when we say the sociological effect, what does that look like to you?
Well, see, I tend to read the Bible and read other books to find something that to help me to substantiate biblically, historically, that this is nothing new. So there is a text in the Bible where Jesus gets off the shore, gets off the ship, and he gets on the shore, and out comes a man out of the tomb, hollering and screaming, worshiping him. But the parameters say he was cutting himself at night, trying to kill himself. They chained him down. He was living in caves, sitting amongst dead men's bones. If that's not a case where a misdiagnosed case could have been, that's one. And so Jesus listened to the man, because in all people, there's some level of normalcy in us. Listen, man, I don't care. Even if you say that kid had no sense, he got some sense. So this man has some level of normalcy that they have enough consciousness, even his spirituality, to know that Jesus comes on the shore. But in the process of Jesus listening to the man, another voice cries out. So what the church does, it does not hear the other voice that's crying out, help me. They cry out the voice that said, hallelujah. So here's a man giving praise, which the church get excited about. But underlying that hallelujah is a help me. And so the man said, to Jesus, why are you coming here to disturb me? He said, they put me here. And so Jesus hears the other voice. And what Jesus does with the church, friend, let me say, Jesus puts his praise and his worship ministry on the sideline to deal with the misery in the man. And the church spent too much time trying to get miracles done rather than deal with the misery. And so as Jesus dealt with the misery, and Jesus started asking questions, he said, there's another voice that we are many. So why do you come here to torment me? And what we don't realize that even people who are some of the most dying cases of mental health, they can see the God in us, but that spirit of there's another spirit, there's a demonic spirit, there's an emotional spirit, and while signals are going to the brain, it's the sixth sense of the demonic activity to try to intercept that will give us some ideology or some reality. This is God. And so this other spirit starts to question, so why you come here to torment me? When the first spirit said, I come here to worship you. And so Jesus recognized that voice of dependency on his weakness, but also acknowledged that voice of his strength. He take the voice of strength and put it here for the moment. And he speaks to the man. And the Bible says he was in the tomb cutting himself. Suicide. He was in a tomb amongst the dead, just depressed. He was in the tomb and cast aside and being by himself. And he was hollering all night. There was inner pain within him. So Jesus speaks to the man. And you know the story. And then Jesus speaks to the man. And we call it the pigs and swine. Call us and don't cast us out. Don't send us somewhere else. Or don't do this. And they run over the mountain. What we see here is Jesus become a psychologist, a sociologist, and a therapist. He recognized that there were some inner things in the man that needed to be put out. And then when the man become healed, Jesus gets excited. Then the man walks up to Jesus and said, can I go with you? Jesus said, no, you need to go back where you come from. Because there's several things I look at this. The church denied him. The community denounced him. The doctor delayed his process. The family cast him out. The school system didn't want to be bothered with him. The kids didn't want. So he had a whole lot of other things going on in his life. That's why Jesus said, go back to your family. Go back to your brothers and sisters. So those who thought you had nothing to offer, he sends them back, and now this man become an evangelist instead of being an evil man. He become a magistrate for God instead of being a misery in the community. And so we got to have an ear to hear, eye to hear. But then again, that's why our churches need to be trained in what we call mental health first aid, help us to understand what's happening so we can get the proper resources. And so your subject, the misdiagnosis of mental health in the church and its effects sociologically, psychologically, and spiritually. Sociologically, he was cast out. Psychologically, he was cast down. Spiritually, he was condemned. But Jesus come to raise him back up and give him a sense of self-worth.
Whew. Bishop. Okay, so I'm about to just throw my whole laptop. Okay, you said, oh my goodness, you said a lot. So I'm gonna start from what you just said. So the beginning of this year, we offered Pain and Glory. We offered mental health first aid. We had a mental health first aid certification training, and open to any and every one that we desire. Our desire is that those in ministry, those who are leaders, those who are in the marketplace, that they would come. And so because of COVID, we were limited as far as how many people we allowed to come in. So we did have a nice group of people there, but it was such it was interesting. That's the word I want. It was interesting to note how many people, once they were in that room, and this is the fourth time we've had it. This is the fourth time that made the fifth time that we've offered mental health first aid. And this is the fifth time that the same thing has happened. And that is, of the people who were in there, they were able to see that they've seen in themselves or in family members some of the things that we were talking about to look for. Some of the things that the instructor was saying, these are some of the things to look for. And what we found is, I saw a pattern. Of course, they wouldn't see the pattern. They haven't been to the other ones, but I saw a pattern for those who were, especially because every class, we always have someone that is a part of a ministry or church. And what I saw, the pattern I saw, Bishop, was people who were saying, I saw this in church, but I didn't know that's what it was. I saw this in my family member, but I didn't know that's what it was. And so because of not knowing what it was lumped into a spiritual thing. Since I don't know what this is, I'm just going to push this off into it's all spiritual. And so I just don't want to talk to her anymore. I'll just leave them alone. I'll just pray about it. And the person goes and is suffering in silence. And so when you began to give the illustration of the man in the cemetery, and then you broke down the three areas of where he was cast out and how he was convicted. That was cast out, cast down, and convicted. Powerful. I'm sitting here stunned because there's so many. There's so many. They may not be in the cemetery physically, but there's so many that are in that same scenario that you just gave. That same scenario, sir.
See, might I add, as you were
Yes.
saying, that where the church is coming along now, and that's why programs like this are helpful. The missing link is education. I think if we become educated to what it is and learn that everything is not bad, it's not demons, not the devil, education is so important. And so when I see forums like this, I jump to these. I don't jump to preaching forum. That's because we're educating thousands and millions of people. That is nothing wrong, even with pastors going to get help. One of my biggest challenge, biggest drive is getting pastors, especially African American pastors, because we've been afraid to open up to people to expose us, because we will be looked down on as a leader in the church that I don't have any faith. Mental health ain't got nothing to do with your faith. It has to do with a deficiency in your body or some abnormality. And they have functioned well over these years, but they're afraid to tell somebody that if their business get out, they're going to be put to shame. But let me say to pastors and leaders who are watching now, this is the kind of program that you need to get in touch with Sister Payne so you can get some help. Because there's nothing worse than you dying on the job than living and walking away from the job. You can live and walk away from the job, but you shouldn't die on the job because of education. And so the church must spend more time bringing in quality. See, we cannot be afraid and intimidated as pastors, bringing in a person like you and other people in to teach us what mental health is, what psychological disorders, what psychosis. We must bring people in to help us out. After all, we bring the electrician in to fix the light, the air conditioner, fix the air conditioner. We bring professionals from the outside to do everything in the church, except come help fix us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bishop, I spoke with a few years ago, I think about 3 years now. I spoke in a forum that was that had maybe 40 to 45 pastors. And it was about what we were just speaking about, mental health and ministry, and, the ability for them to be able to seek help. Before we even got into the discussion, Bishop, there was one pastor that stood up in the back, and I remember him vividly because it was kind of a luncheon setting, so everyone was seated. But it was on him he was so passionate about it. He stood from his table and he said, "Who do we go to talk to?" He said, "As a pastor, you can't," his words, he said, "you can't bleed on the sheep." He said, "and if we go to our peers, we'll appear as weak." He said, "Who then can we turn to?" And so thankfully in that particular setting, Bishop, there were several mental health professionals that were in the room. And so that was a great segue. But what his question didn't take me aback as much as the number of people in the room who were in such agreement, that feeling of, I can't talk to anyone. So they go home heavy, carrying whatever they had to carry in ministry along with whatever they were dealing with. Because as you said, still human. There could be as we said earlier, a genetic issue. There could be past trauma. There could be chemical imbalances, so many things that our leaders are taking into the pulpit, but taking back with them because they feel like, from his words, he can't talk about it.
Right. Yeah. And it's sad because we've always had to struggle and pass, even African Americans, and we really didn't have nobody to talk to about each other. Thank God for Grandmama and Mom Sally and Mom Bertha and Uncle Jim, who come up with some remedy by the hand of God that kept us sane back then.
Yes.
And those food that they fed us kept us. But we're in a new time now, and then especially with the pandemic and with COVID, social injustice, voters' rights, all this stuff now is affecting us. We don't know if I should go outside or not. I mean, mental health is more than just something acting out order. Mental health is what affects me mentally, psychologically, and socially, even in the midst of a world that seems to be turned against me. Because there's so many young people who turn against taking vaccines because they said they have a little bug in it, and if I take it, they can trace me. That becomes a mental an infusion into the mental health faculties of that thinking, if I'm making sense. So these young people don't want to take it. And I said to us, Negro, if they want to get you, as much junk food you eat, much water you drink, as much, it's already in stuff. If that's the case, they don't need to create a virus. They don't need you to take a shot to get you. They got you already, And they looked at me and I said, you got to understand, there's better ways to get you to do crazy stuff and follow you. They know where you are anyway. You got an Apple Watch.
Yep.
You got phones. I mean, they know when you sleep. They can turn your phone on. They can turn your computer on. And so we got to help our people get past all this suspiciousness of taking care of ourselves. And we don't need nobody to conjure up no witch doctor voodoo. We just need to be humble enough, sensitive enough to go to the right people. And listen, there are so many saved doctors and
So true.
spirit-filled doctors and
So
psychologists
true.
and mental health. I had one of the top mental health specialists in the country at my church. Came out of Church of God in Christ out of Mississippi for the graduate program. I work at Ohio State. She one of the best. And she loves the Lord. She do everything we do. But when it comes down to dealing with matters like this, she know how to deal with it straight from the heart.
There you
And
go.
so we need to find these people.
Yeah.
Again, that's why I applaud people who are watching this program. Don't just write down notes. You need to find out what Sister Payne is and let her help you out. Let her help you out, guide you to the right people.
Amen. And that is so true. What you're saying is so true. I'm actually a part of a board, and I'll get into that later, where we do actually have a network of mental health professionals that because I'm not a mental health professional, I'm an advocate, but I certainly know how to get you to where you need to go.
Yeah.
And I found that to be true in the past, what, 20 something months. I found that to be true where I've been getting multiple calls from pastors and leaders, which is wonderful. I appreciate that. Who are saying, "Listen, what's the number? Where can we go? Who do we call?" And then knowing what's available. Not everything, in certain situations where a 911 call is required, knowing what to say when you call 911, if the situation calls for it, so that you get the best outcome for whomever is in need. These are things that we need to know. And one thing that you said, Bishop, I think you said it. You did an interview. I didn't see the whole thing. I saw most of it. One thing you said stood out to me, and it stood out to me because I've heard it many times in different settings, both in corporate America and when I talk to some of my mental health professional friends, and I've even said it myself in different settings. But you said this, you said that you sit back and you watch people's body language and you notice people's body language. And one of the things that we talked about in the mental health first aid that I was just telling you about, the instructor said, she called us all to remember. I think it's been a few years now, but the woman who drove her children into the river, and she said that her church member, the woman, not my instructor, said that she saw her in church, and she said the lady said, the mother, "I want to cry, but I can't." And she said, the instructor said, had the person that she told that to known that this is a red flag, this is something that needs to be drawn attention to, then possibly the outcome would have been different. Noted, I was at work uh, about 3 years ago, right before the pandemic, literally right before everything shut down, and one of my colleagues was walking the hallways just looking different than his norm. We didn't work closely together, but I knew enough to know that this isn't how he looks and behaves every day. He's kind of distant, kind of, you know. And so I went to his supervisor because since I didn't know if that was the norm, I wanted to go, is this something that he normally does?
Yeah.
And I said, this may be nothing, but if it is something, I want to bring it to your attention. Does this person does he usually act like this? And so thankfully, it was not the norm, but I noticed that he was behaving differently. And they were able to go to him and and talk to him. And after that, the next week he was fine. So I don't know if he had taken something. I don't know what was going on. I do not know, but I was paying attention
Yeah.
and I didn't
See,
just assume.
yeah. See, I think you bring an interesting point. Even when we talk about mental health first aid, is that as the church move to some level of coming back together, and we got to have people strategically in place
Mm-hmm.
to see what's going on. The
Mm-hmm.
pastor can't see everything. I don't care how good my
Yes.
discernment is. I still miss it.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
care what God shows me. I don't see it all.
Yes,
We
sir.
got to strategically have people who are educated, who are inspirational, who take the approach to say, I don't know what's going on, but this is out of the norm. So that person can get help. Maybe that person don't know they're out of the norm. Maybe it's been building up to a point that it's gradually built up to a normalcy. And it's what I call in one of my case studies that we have functioned so long in wrong till they become right in our mind. But it is a dysfunction in our life. Now I have taken on a personality, what I call a dysfunctionality.
Wow.
It moves from a function that nobody corrected to that's been engrafted in our lifestyle. We have become dysfunctional in those actions. Now I have settled that this is how I am, and now it is a dysfunctionality.
Wow.
And so the point that you made, you saw something different. You reported to the right people.
Mm-hmm.
We must be vigilant, at least go to the right person, not to tell on somebody.
Right.
That's why even in my church, I got certain people. You tell me what you see. Now I'm gonna pay attention even to the person who just loves to gossip. Maybe even in the gossip, there is some truth.
Right,
But I
right,
got
right.
certain people who can see stuff that I don't see,
Right.
and I don't want to see it. Tell me, did I have the resources? Because there's sometimes people may not want to tell it all to the pastor. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
You got a mental health doctor, they're not obligated to tell me anything. Listen, the truth of the matter is, I really don't want to know.
Don't want to
But I know
know.
how to get you to the right people, though.
That's important. That's important, sir. Absolutely. That's important. Recognizing I may not be able to help you with this, but I know someone who can.
Yeah.
And I have a resource here. Here, take this pamphlet. Here, take this card. Here, go here, log on here and go here. That's important. That's important.
Here's the other thing that
Yes, sir.
Dr. said, because sometimes I find myself saying, I can't help you, but I know somebody can. But the fact that I helped you probably is greater than what the person helped you doing.
There
Because
you go.
I
Come on
saved
now.
you from committing
Come
your
on
suicide.
now. Come on
And
now.
so I want to say to people who feel, sometimes we help people that feel like, I want to do more. Listen, you've done the most you know to do, so they cannot become the less of who they're becoming. And sometimes that's telling somebody is more important than what the doctor has done. Because the doctor said, have you not got them here in time? You know. So I want to encourage people,
Ooh.
never feel less than if you don't have what? Oh, well, anyway. You
Ooh.
said things that's alerting my ears, but go ahead.
That's what I'm talking about, Bishop. That's what I'm talking about. That is so true because you're right. They could be operating in dysfunction so long that they've not recognized yet fully. Okay, I'm at the point I need some help.
Yeah.
Or does anybody see me? Does anybody see me?
Does
Who can?
anybody see me? Yeah.
And then by you saying, "Here's some help," because sometimes people just don't know where to go. It's not the fact that they don't want help. It's not the fact that but sometimes people haven't given them the door that's open to say that's the door you need to go through right there. That one right there.
Hold on one moment.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying
Yes,
to
sir.
follow that.
Yes, sir. I hope that as you're watching this, that you all are getting so much out of this as I know, as I am, because Bishop is really sharing some great nuggets with us. Listen, if you haven't already, go ahead and share it. Go ahead and tell someone that we are on. And if you're watching the replay, welcome, welcome, welcome.
I bought this. You ever seen this box before?
Yes, I have. I didn't know that that's what it said.
It is a book that I was using in my training, and it just explained what you said. There are people who are saying, "Can you hear me? Can you see me? I need to get out of here."
Need to
And
get
so
out.
that's why I keep it on my shelf. All my other books are, but I didn't mean to move away from the screen, so I apologize to the audience.
No,
But
you're fine.
that's what's happening in our churches, in the society. People are crying, "Do you see me? Do you hear me?" I need to get out of this dysfunctionality so I can function like everyone else. So you're bringing up some good points. Can't you see me? Can you hear me?
Wow. That was an excellent analogy. That was excellent. Oh goodness. Well, as we get to that last question on here, this has been great, Bishop. This
Yeah.
has been amazing. What are some suggestions that could help the leaders that are struggling with their own mental health while trying to lead?
Wow. Well, first of all, they have to acknowledge that they're struggling with something. Uh, my concern that we can pray and ask God for a good sermon. We can ask God for revelation. We look to receive prophetic word. Hopefully one day somebody will give them a prophetic word and make them say, hey. But I think that every pastor in this season need to find a friend that you can talk to. And here's the other thing. There's nothing, listen, I do annual checkup with all my doctors, my oncologists, my urologists. I just do it. I love seeing my doctors. I do. They like seeing me. I make them feel good. We need to get an annual checkup for every aspect of our body, from our
Yes,
mental
sir.
health, our
Yes, sir.
physical health, our inner side. I mean, they don't put scopes everywhere they can find an opening in my body just to find out that there's something working right. So the thing is, pastors have to become more alert now and more sensitive. We're not getting any younger. Here's the deal. This pandemic has caused an age increase in many pastors.
Yeah.
The lack of worship service, not having service, has taken that joy. I think leaders need to try to find somebody to help them out. Because if you're struggling with mental health while you're leading, you're gonna lead your people eventually down the wrong pathway.
Yes, sir.
And so as pastors and leaders who are watching me, listen to me. Listen to me good. If something inside of you is clicking and feel like a time bomb, you need to go get a specialist. And so in the process, you got to listen to some of your best friends. Get best friends who are honest with you. They ain't
Mhm.
trying to hurt your feelings. I'd rather you hurt my feelings than me die on my watch. And so I would suggest that pastors try to learn as much about mental health. And before you can lead your people out, you got to be on the outside from what you was in so they can know they need to come on the other side.
Woo. Bishop, that was powerful. That was powerful and necessary. It was necessary to hear because I think that oftentimes there is this weight that weighs heavy on pastors and leaders that they, much like the example you just gave, it's not just those who are in the pews, the pastors. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah.
Oh
And I
wow.
see, I see pastors, I know they got to do, I see pastors all the time, even when they come on my Facebook page, ask me questions. I can read between the lines that they're asking me for help. And I call and say, listen, this is not bishop. This is not the bishop. This is not the prophet. This is not the apostle. This is Harry talking to you now. I read your post. I can tell what you're saying. You're crying out for help. We've all been there. And we all have not been there. We're going to get there. Let me recommend what I can do to help you out. And you're trying to, and one of the approaches I say to bishops and pastors, don't take away their titles and their office just for them to get help. Leave them with something they can hold on to, look forward to. We're too busy trying to take everything away.
Right.
And so one of the things we got to tell pastors, you got leaders in your church, deacons, it's not a point of sitting them down, pull them to the side and say, listen, I want to get you some help. But here's the safeguard. Bring somebody in your church who's mentally trained, psychologically trained, who's
Right.
a medical doctor, who can sit in your whole congregation and analyze the spiritual and emotional health of your church. That's one of the things that I do. And it's kind of scary because in the beginning, before I got into in my doctoral program, I was able to sense stuff spiritually and see things, prophetically, as we say. But now that I'm trained, I can speak from every area now
Yes,
and
sir.
give some substantive information, academics, and education about what I'm saying. You don't want to prophesy and don't have any professional wording with it.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I'm finished for the day. I'm
Bishop,
finished.
this has been amazing.
Yeah,
Listen, this has been exactly what I hoped it would be.
yeah,
Exactly when I extended the invitation. This is exactly what I hoped it would be. Full of wisdom, full of information, educating us with so much love infused throughout the whole thing. So thank you so much. Those of you who are tuning in, I want you to be able to connect with Bishop Bellinger. So I want you to make sure, I'm going to put his information up on the screen. So if you want to follow him, you can follow him on Facebook, and you'll find him if you search Bishop H. Eugene Bellinger right there on Facebook, as well as if you go over to Instagram, he's over there as well. I encourage you. He puts out some wonderful wisdom on social media, and so you'll do yourself a great service to go on Facebook and look up Bishop and follow him on Facebook. Before we round out, before we end up, I want to let you all know that on the 29th of this month, the Faith Based Mental Health Initiative will be having our annual conference, and it's entitled Faith Based Therapy Works. And it's going to be streamed live on Facebook. So what I want you to do, I need you to, so that you'll know where to go and all that great stuff, simply go to faith-based therapyworks.eventbrite.com. I'm going to say it again, faith-based therapyworks.eventbrite.com. Go ahead and register. It's absolutely free. You do not want to miss it. We have some of the top educational minds from all over the country, from Yale, Columbia University, Emory University. We have it's going to be a dynamic experience. So faith-based therapy works is the conference, and you do not want to miss out. So before we end out, Bishop, is there anything that you would like to say as we're closing out?
Well, it's been my joy, my pleasure, and I hope that I added something to someone's vocabulary, somebody's life. I certainly appreciate you and all that you're doing. Pray that God will continue to use you in the program. And I say to those of you who are watching, reach out to her. She can help you along the way so you won't be alone walking in the way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bishop. Thank you so much. Oh, and before I forget, I don't know how I could have forgot this. We talked about mental health first aid that we host. If you would like to partner with us in donating, we want to have, that is not the only thing that we do. Our platform spans wide and far. And so if you want to partner with us with donations, feel free to do so via Cash App at $Pain and Glory, or via PayPal at cpain@painandglory.com. You can feel free to sow into this, and trust me, you'll see where it goes, because you'll see us on social media posting about some of the things that we do. One of the things that I'm so proud of that we did in 2021, that's a mouthful, 2021, was we were able to partner with a ministry here in Atlanta and feed over 250 families, which was a wonderful thing. And we want to continue to do those type of things. It's not just mental health first aid, but we do so much more. But listen, I encourage you. Now, as you know, we were doing Pain in the Pews, Mental Health and Ministry weekly, the weekly broadcast, but now we're doing it quarterly. However, just because we're not doing this particular broadcast every week does not mean that we won't be coming on, because we're going to have special guests that are going to be coming on throughout the month. It just won't be the Pain in the Pews platform. It will be, well, you'll see. I don't give away all the secrets. I can't tell you everything. So you will see. Thank you again, Bishop. Stay right there. Thank you so much. See you guys on our next go round. Stay close, stay tuned in. Don't forget to go and follow Bishop Bellinger on social media, and we will see you on next time. Remember, be blessed. And I will see you on our next broadcast.